Change me from hourly to salary to cut my pay. Okay. This takes place in the before times when people could eat out and gather in large numbers. I used to work as a chef, for an owner who liked to micromanage things and was a bit narcissistic. I'd been working there about 3 years, getting good reviews, customers loved me, updated the menu, made everything from scratch. People used to think the place was open box/heat, serve food. Quality had gone up, morale was great in my kitchen. Annual sales went from $850,000 to $1.4 million, about maximum capacity for the space. The increase in sales and income went to the owner's head. He was always spending money on frivolous things and squandering cash. Sound system, stage for the event space, etc. One example, I needed a new alto sham. A used one would have sufficed. Nope, he bought the top-of-the-line one that could be used as a smoker to $12,000 vs what I wanted could be gotten used for $1,500. Granted, I enjoyed that piece of equipment, which after I left, they no longer use the smoker function. Years later I still occasionally get emails, invoices from a vendor and see they bring in pre-cooked smoked meats now. I was hourly, but then the owner realized during the busy season I and my sous chef put in 70 to 80-hour weeks. Doing this he realized I made more take-home pay from his business than he did. At peak times he'd maybe work 40 to 50 hours a week, so, to save money he puts me and my sous on salary, effectively cutting my pay by about $10,000 a year. My sous netted a loss of $2,000 a year, if we were to work at our current level of effort. During all of this the owner is saying he is not expecting us to work over 40 hours a week, ever. He even has this written into our contracts. So, with the extra time off at home with family it is okay. I still like the job and my staff. During the slower time this was great. Also, during this time, I had won a local award for my cooking, and the narcissistic owner was not too pleased. He was no longer recognized as the creative force in the kitchen that bears his name, so his meddling and micromanaging increased. It had gone from "it's your kitchen, cop chef, do what you want" to "it's my name and my kitchen, do it this way." Morale and quality began to suffer. Just prior to the holiday season my sous wants to go back to his home country for 2.5 months, November, December, and January peak crazy time for us. I have good help and am good with it. Owner approved the time off. Owner thinking, I am gonna save him some money that holiday season by working my usual 70 to 80 hours a week. Nope. Cue the malicious compliance. I start writing the holiday schedule. Sue is on vacation. I have my 40 during key prep times and peak business times. The rest if my staff gets serious overtime. Basically, the Sue and I carried a lot of the weight in the kitchen and could outperform most of our small staff. So, with Sue on vaca and I only pulling 40, full-time staff is now working 60-ish hours a week, and part-timers are getting 40. Things are running pretty smoothly until the owner realizes I'm not there like I always am during the holiday rush. He's in the kitchen more trying to micromanage my staff, giving them poor advice, contradicting my directions and timing for events, screwing up the small parties my staff could handle while I am off. After a few weeks of this he realizes he's going to be paying the staff out more in overtime than he saved on moving me and my sous to salary. He starts demanding I work more hours to stop hemorrhaging OT to the kitchen staff. I show him my contract where I am not expected to work over 40 hours a week. Now he says it's just a guideline. I hold him to the 40 a week. It's Christmas, and now I can for once spend time with my family. Now with my sous returning, I'm burned out from the constant micromanaging and gaslighting by the owner. I hand the reins to my sous and change careers after 25 years in the industry and never look back. TLDR, micromanaging owner cuts my pay by $10,000 a year to save money, due to owner's stupid spending habits. Says in contract not required to work over 40 hours a week. Busy holiday season only work 40, rest of kitchen staff gets overtime, and no money is saved.
Now to the comments. I'm proud of you, you sound awesome and should work for/with people who can see that.
OP replied. Thanks, I hired almost all the kitchen staff. I hired the best people I knew, my friends. We all hung out after work and on days off. It was a great family atmosphere while it lasted.
So, you've opened your own place. There's an expression for this, I feel, don't kill the goose that lays golden eggs.
Or penny wise pound foolish.
I will never understand why owners shoot themselves in the foot like this. If you have rock star staff, keep them happy. The profits will flow.
Narcissistic self-destruction.
You go you. It's always nice to see the douche canoes getting what they deserve for their selfishness. My brother-in-law did something similar to my husband, and myself. Salary to hourly to force him to work longer hours. Then he was surprised when he got notice that hubby was leaving for a new job. Plus, we were selling our place to move out of state to take it. He was scrambling to find someone to manage his businesses and someone to take over doing the maintenance also. He was pissed because he ended up having to hire 5 people for quite a bit more money than he had been paying before. I had already quit a few months before due to the shattering. So, my management duties, paperwork, inventory, court, 24 HR telephone X2, my maintenance duties, and a whole lot more, were put on my husband's shoulders. Yeah, he totally didn't think that one through. He was trying to require him to work a minimum of 65 hours a week, ideally 80 plus. So he took him off salary and dropped his pay to $9 an hour. His thinking was that it would force my husband to go back to putting in the 80 plus hour weeks that he was wanting out of him again. It always surprises me that people will not sit down and reason out the possible consequences and all likely outcomes of a decision, before implementing the decision.
Drop me to $9 an hour, I'll turn on my heels and walk out.
Yeah, for me that would go $9 an hour, by no more questions. So, he could spend more money than you earned in OT on a piece of equipment you didn't need but not on you. I too would have been looking elsewhere after the Christmas rush, simply to see the train wreck the owner causes.
Yeah, but you can't amortize and write off the value of a human, the IRS frowns upon it.
You can write off 100% of what you pay your employees right away. This is just stupidity. What was the fallout? It sounds like the place would start falling into obscurity as more and more people probably left due to the same environment.
OP replied. The owner is a narcissist and quite calculating, and he can be quite the charmer when he needs to be. Anybody who's gotten close has not lasted long. He's cultivated this image in the community that is quite different from his persona when you work for him. His sales had fallen dramatically after I left. I figure in the next few months he will pack it in.
When he does it, you have room. Maybe consider buying the Alto Sham if you have room for it. You could start a nice side gig catering if you want to keep a foot in the culinary water. $1,500 sounds about fair for it second hand, right? I used to be head chef of a large sports bar that could seat 200 at a time and did about $2 million in sales per year. This is back about 15 to 20 years ago, and I was only getting paid $36,000 salary. I enjoyed it for the most part. There was always plenty of sporting events on, and touring teams would come to us regularly. It was always very busy though, and I was averaging about 60 hours a week. Business picked up to a point where the general manager decided to get me some help in the way of a co-head chef. We were supposed to be equal, however they paid him $40,000 per year and he barely did more than 40 hours a week while I still kept up my normal workload. I don't blame him for only doing the minimum required. Kitchens can be brutal places. Anyway, I started getting very annoyed that I was getting paid ridiculously low for someone in charge of so much sales, and starting asking questions about pay rises. They very reluctantly finally put me on $40,000, but by then it wasn't enough with inflation etc. I was there for about 5 years before I eventually pulled the pin. One thing I had done the whole time was keep records of all my timesheets, filling out the hours of work I'd done. In my original contract I had a clause to compare what I'd actually earned against what I would have earned if I was on basic minimum wage. There was a $19,000 shortfall. I got this paid out when I left. I'm no longer in hospitality, but the morale of the story is to check your employee contract thoroughly and keep records of time worked. Sorry for the long story, it turned out a bit longer than I expected, lol.